Futures now, old man.
What a do, Rookie HQ. Jose and J Mac here with you, back at it for a rookie market value. What's up, dude?
What's up, Rookie HQ gang, player profiler, now network peeps. Hope everybody's having a good week. Yep, here with you guys again. We're gonna go over, I think, another mock draft. See what's going on. This one's a little bit better, at least for the offensive players compared to some of the ones we talked about previously. But yeah, man, I've been good, J-Mac. How you been?
Been real good. I've just been grinding, man. It's been a busy week, but we're starting to do a startup, so getting all that going. We got the Derby draft done, and we're going to wait until after the NFL draft to start the startup there. So a lot of itching to be done over the next 2 weeks, calming all of the degens.
It's less than 2 weeks now. We're draft
That's
starts
true.
Thursday, right? So
That's true.
we'll know a lot of these big names by then. But yeah, I mean, the people just everybody that's in a draft and like in the league, and everybody's like, yeah, we can wait, and then like time's crawling by, and everybody's like, no, what, like, why can't we just start now? Let's just do it now. What can it hurt? Let's just do it. So yeah, it's gonna be a bit of a wait, but
Hey, man. Hey, that's just the season. You gotta build you gotta edge.
yeah. Oh man, yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna jump into it here. We wanted to bring up a mock draft here. We're gonna go through Peter Schrager's mock draft on ESPN. And man, it was a good one. I sent it over to you as soon as I saw it, and I was like, I hope this happens. Like, screw your beat writers, Jose, and and their mock draft. Like, we need Peter Schrager to draft for all 32 teams here.
Yeah. As we know, ESPN analysts are the cream of the crop when it comes to these sorts of things. So, I mean, at least he had a more fun one for fantasy, so I can't hate on it.
Hey, I've heard he's pretty plugged in, in terms of what he gets right for year to year. People are always surprised at what actually happens out of his mock drafts. Like it's usually like, oh, that would never happen. Like that's no one's ever mocked that before, and then it ends up happening. So we
You
can only
do you
hope.
do wonder how he extracts his sources, compared to other reporters around the league and covering other teams. But yeah, man, let's hit it. Let's get into it.
Let's do it. All right. We're going to jump straight into it here in our rookie values episode. Let's get into the presentation mode here. Starting off at the top, we got no surprise, Fernando Mendoza going to the Raiders. They did take Kirk Cousins, and I don't know. Like we kind of talked about the Kirk Cousins signing on our other episode uh, last week on our main podcast, the Future First podcast, and I think that he's a buy low for Dynasty. It's just go get Kirk Cousins because you never know. What if it feels like a hedge here? Yeah, it's a 1 year contract, but they did have, was it 5 years or 4 years that they bought into it. So if Fernando Mendoza ends up not being the guy that they think he is, Kirk Cousins could be a starter long term here.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think the Mendoza point is kind of, you know, is the most known 101 for a long time. So
A lot of
no big
fatigue
surprises there. Yeah.
with that one. And then at 4, we have Jeremiah Love going to the Tennessee Titans. This is another one that's been mocked quite a bit. I'm in on this landing spot for Jeremiah Love. I don't know how you feel about it. I don't know if we've talked about it too much.
Yeah, I mean they have some money tied up to Tony Pollard, or right? Tony
Yeah,
Pollard.
Tony
And they
Pollard.
still have Tyjae Spears. So but I mean, Jeremiah Love profiles to be a much better player than all of those guys all around. So it's not the most exciting offense. At some point in this offseason, we were talking about him going to the Chiefs. So, it definitely tempers expectations. I think this sort of landing spot at the beginning of this draft season, I was saying Jeremiah Love to me isn't like the blue chipper, like elite player coming out of college. I think this landing spot would kind of put me back into that sort of thought. Like definitely great, definitely the 101 and all rookie, probably the best player coming out of college in terms of for fantasy potentially. But I don't think I'd put him in that like next level in terms of like the running backs that we've seen, especially recently, like a Bijan, Gentee, the Saquons, the Zekes, like back in the day. So I don't hate it. It could be worse. Obviously, like even the next pick for the Giants, I think it could be worse for him and Crayon Man eating gentleman. I can't think of his name. Cam Scattaboo. Yeah. So but yeah, this one I think is also a bit fatigued. I think this is the most likely spot, but yeah, I don't hate it.
Yep, I like it. I think that the Titans are an offense to look forward to, and I think Jeremiah Love going there would be a great foundational block for them to build on. Considering Tony Pollard is towards the end of his career, and Tyjae Spears has had trouble staying healthy to be the guy that they wanted him to be when they drafted him. Jeremiah Love would immediately plug in here, I feel like, as the 3-down back and only get off the field to get some Gatorade. But this isn't even the highlight of the draft. The highlight of the draft is right here. The Cleveland Browns take an offensive tackle. Thank you. Please do this, Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean, you'd hope that the wide receiver that they take is later if they're going to take one.
Yeah, so we dodge a bullet there for one of the top wide receivers going there, and here we go. At number 9 overall, the Kansas City Chiefs take Jordan Tyson, the first wide receiver off the board. If this doesn't get you half excited down below the belt, I don't know what else will, man.
I mean, this might get you past edging at this point, but
that's right, man.
Yeah, I mean, I've been growing. I guess let's go for it. I've been growing on Jordan Tyson, and he's been growing on me, I guess too. I think I've put some of the injury concerns, more, like not playing scared. And I think this would, I think this could drastically shake up how we view the wide receivers. Obviously, we can see in a couple picks, Carnell Tate goes to the Dolphins.
Oh, spoiler.
So yeah, I mean, I guess you can't see it on your screen. Sorry, guys. I'm looking at a different window here, but anyways, yeah, I mean, I think this would be very interesting. I think it could definitely shake up how we view the top 3. I think it's still choose your flavor, but I think for me this would put him pretty squarely maybe as the 103 in my drafts. I have been loving Jordan Tyson, and anything tied to Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. He's made Xavier Worthy relevant, Rashee Rice, and Jordan Tyson. I think coming out of school probably is a better prospect than all those guys if his health permits it.
Yeah, this one is a weird one to me because Kansas City has had top 30 visits with wide receivers, but I don't think Jordan Tyson has been one of them. And you can even see here Peter Schrager is saying that Kansas City can go a variety of directions here. Cornerback and edge rusher are certainly options. So, I mean, Jordan Tyson feels like he kind of fits this offense really well. Man, would this just like, what does this do for Rashee Rice? I mean, his value is already kind of basement dwelling with all the off the field stuff. And I feel like this would just take any kind of air out of any hype for him and the production that he could do? Or do you think that that's just maybe a false narrative here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely would hurt it. I think it would push everybody down. Like, I think maybe not right off the bat, like make him the number 1 there, but I think pretty quickly. I mean, I do think he is the one of the more talented players that they would have there since Tyreek Hill has been there. So I think it would just push, and I could see it if they're predicting, further off-field issues. Obviously they have Rashee Rice in the building and they know him, the best. This could also be like an insulation in case something happens either in season, next season, like we talked about on the previous episode, I think, of the main pod. He's pretty much one mistake away from his entire career being over. So I think it could make sense for the Chiefs to kind of insulate themselves in that manner too.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. All right, let's move on. Let's go over into the Miami Dolphins at number 11, taking Carnell Tate, the wide receiver out of Ohio State. I love it. I think we were talking about this. I think it was on the last rookie market episode here where I'm starting to grow on the idea of current or any wide receiver going to the Dolphins just because it is so void of any kind of target competition that I feel like any one of these three wide receivers that steps in there is pretty much a lock for 130 targets, probably more than that even. Like a la like a T-Mac of 2025, and I think that they're probably pretty easily squared in there for the wide receiver one of the rookie class for if anyone lands here.
Yeah, I love the landing spot. I hope, for Malik Willis's sake, this happens. They get him some help because obviously who they have him throwing to right now is pretty wild. And yeah, I mean, this would make it very interesting between Tyson going to, one of the best offenses or at least one of the better offenses of the last years with one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. And then Tate here going to a little bit of an unknown with Malik Willis and Jeff Haley, but just the amount of targets and lack of competition that there could be, it definitely makes it very interesting. And those 103, 104, and then we'll get to the 105, the Mekhi Lemon, where he lands. Like, it makes them very interesting, and I think it definitely juices up the volume, the value. We've known those three wide receivers are going to be the big pack of three, but all these landing spots are compared to what we were looking at last time, where it was like
they're not
the Browns, the Jets, and somebody else. It was, that greatly, I think, helps the value of those picks going forward.
All right, well, if your pants are still on, get ready to take them off because here we go at 13th overall, the Los Angeles Rams take Mekhi Lemon out of USC. I love it. I mean, this has been mocked before. We've talked about it before. If Lemon goes to the Rams, it's only a matter of time before he steps into a more prominent role for Sean McVay and Matt Stafford there. It could even be as soon as this year. Devontae Adams is he going to be 33, 32 this year, I think is what it is. So
34 in December, says it right there.
Oh, there you go. Turning 34 in December. Yeah, I mean, Devontae Adams is and was a stud last year until his hamstring, caught up on him. And Mekhi Lemon is not Devontae Adams, but he can win in different ways that I'm sure Sean McVay could find to get the ball to. So honestly, like Mekhi Lemon would just be like a Puka light. So now you just have two little Pukas running around out there.
Yeah, I mean, the way Puka's offseason has been going, he might have several Pukas running around in a few months either way. But yeah, man, I love it. I think, Mekhi Lemon's been somebody I'm really high on, and maybe not off the gate for this first season just because of target competition. And then, you might have a little dip in value. You might need to be ready to have a little bit JSN moment where you need a diamond hand, hold on to Mekhi Lemon, because there is a situation where he doesn't have a great first season. Then Matthew Stafford retires next season. It does seem like this could be his last year. And then there's a lot of uncertainty. So if you are going to be drafting Mekhi Lemon, I think go into it knowing, hey, this is an asset that I'm going to have to hold off a little bit for. If it is a situation where you're looking to contend in the near future, he is definitely somebody maybe that you might want to swap around or do something else with, because I could see it being a little bit of a bumpy road at the start. But any wide receiver with his talent paired with Sean McVay is fantasy gold.
And he'd be home. He'd be in Los Angeles, man, just in his backyard. So I think that would be another reason to feel good about it. All right, let's keep moving. We have 4 skill positions in the first 13 picks, and we have another skill position in the 14th pick, Kenyon Sadiq going to the Baltimore Ravens. I guess he would be the heir apparent to Mark Andrews since they got rid of everybody else in the tight end room there. Yeah, I don't know. I still like Kenyon Sadiq. There's been a lot of recent content out there which wants to fade Kenyon Sadiq and put um, Eli Stowers above him based on analytical profiles and stuff. I Kenyon Sadiq is a stud. Like if he can refine a little bit of things between route running and polishing up that stuff, which I mean the dude is an athletical prospect, or that's not the word I'm looking for. Mm, he's a stud. There you go.
Yeah.
He's gonna win. Like I have faith in him. He has put it on tape of him making highlight catches. Like if he can just clean up the route running, like it's only a matter of time before he becomes like a George Kittle to me.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty interesting one. It would be a little bit weird for the Ravens, I guess, to get rid of Likely, but maybe he just was garnering too much money, and then kind of bring in another athletic freak to back up Mark Andrews or compete with him. So it's a bit interesting. It wouldn't go through the roof, I think, depending on how early into the next day Stowers went. I could see myself flipping because it seems like there's a lot of chatter, not just about Stowers' analytical profile, but how he's being viewed by a lot of teams is basically like a wide receiver. So there's some buzz there that could happen depending on his landing spot and how early Stowers went. But Kenya Safriq is he's him. He's a guy. So he's an exciting player to watch and a true specimen of human nature.
He's getting Safriqui with it, man. All right. The Jets at 16 take Omar Cooper Jr., the wide receiver out of Indiana. Yeah, I don't love it. I do like Omar Cooper Jr. I don't like the Jets, but I mean, hey, if the Jets can find a way to actually piece together a bad season so they can get a good quarterback next season, maybe. Like, right?
Yeah,
At that point, what, Garrett Wilson's 27?
Yeah, that's crazy to think about that. Gary Rose's already going to be 27. But yeah, I mean, Omar Cooper Jr., rip, I don't know. The Jets is just not great. But it would be interesting. I mean, here they said he's comped to Deebo Samuel, which would be a good compliment, like it's saying, to Garrett Wilson, a bit different of a, but it's all going to depend, right? Like, what can they do at quarterback in the future?
Yeah, the Deebo comp is interesting. He's a lot lighter than Deebo, but he does a lot of the same things in terms of yak, I think is a good way to put it. All right, let's keep scrolling here. Let's go down. Then, so we've had 6 positional players within the first 20 picks of the draft, and then we get our 7th pick here at 23 to the Philadelphia Eagles, selecting Denzel Boston, perhaps the replacement for AJ Brown that's been rumored is going to be traded over to the New England Patriots at the June 1st deadline, so that way the dead cap is much less than it would be if they traded him before then. How do you feel about Denzel Boston replacing AJ Brown in that offense?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually kind of funny. We were just talking about this on the main pod. Catch it over at Future First on the Play Profiler Network. We were talking about the wide receiver room in Philadelphia and what it means. I mean, all the signs are pointing to they're getting ready to get rid of AJ Brown. I think this kind of would be the final nail in the coffin. I mean, I would be interested just because the competition there, besides Devontae Smith is not very not very much to compete with. So we'd be walking into a ton of targets for an offense that we're kind of hoping is going to turn around in terms of their passing volume and just productivity. He's not a great like a prospect that I'm super in love with, but this landing spot and draft capital would definitely had me intrigued.
Yeah, this is interesting here. Peter Schrager says Washington coach Jed Fish and Eagles general manager Howie Roseman are longtime college buddies. So I don't know. Maybe there's something to it there. But I like the fit for Denzel Boston in the Eagles here. I'm not the biggest Denzel Boston fan, but I think that he would play a role that they need there, and I think him being the wide receiver two to Devonta Smith would make me feel good, especially since the bodies that they're bringing into that wide receiver room are not very inspiring, which would be Hollywood Brown and Dontavian Wicks, recently traded for from the Green Bay Packers. Let's keep going. We have our 8th skill position player here, KC Concepcion, going to the Cleveland Browns at 24th overall. This one was like the one kind of downer. Really it's the Browns are downer in general. It's not, but we like Kevin. He's so lovingly called on this podcast here. Kevin is a very elusive and quick running back. Can do a lot of stuff yak wise. I don't know. Maybe honestly, like I was thinking about this the other day. Like oftentimes we get so down on an offense that we just write players off that go there in general. Is there any hope for the Browns that like this is happening here where we're just kind of
because a lot of people I think felt like had that feeling about the Saints, and then Shuck kind of came out of nowhere and was a guy that produced and gave Olave a good fantasy finish. So it's never say never. I just think based on what you've seen, the GM talking about Watson going to have every shot to compete, it all screams like it's not great. I mean, Kevin is so good at yak that he turned to a running back, according to you heard it here first by J Mac calling him.
Did I call him a running back?
Nah, it's yes, but it's. I mean, I think what he says
his
here.
freshman year, he was a pretty good running back.
Him being compared to Zay Flowers, and I mean, you got the old Ravens guys there, so it's a lot easier of a pill to swallow than if they took one of the top guys at number 6, which is what we were talking about earlier. So I don't hate it. I mean, it sacrifice Kevin for Mekhi Lemon and Tate and Tyson to all be safe and go to nice landing spots. I'm okay with it.
We offer Kevin as tribute.
As draft tribute. Please, Cleveland, don't take one of the good guys with you.
All right, let's keep moving here. So we've had 8 skill players so far overall. I think we get our 9th at the very last pick, Jadarian Price to the Seattle Seahawks at the 32nd overall pick. Man, this is being mocked quite a bit.
Everybody. It's like the most popular thing besides like Mendoza at 1. I feel like I see this so much.
And I was telling you off air here that if this happens, I think I'm out on Jadarian Price, because I feel like his value is going to get vaulted up so high. He's probably going to be like the 106, 107, and I'm just not going to click the button on Jadarian Price there. Yeah,
I mean, it would be a situation where it'd be great if you had that pick to just trade back and accrue some value, right? Move back a spot or two where you can get a Kenyon Sadiq or maybe another running back or wide receiver that goes, somewhere else, or a Stowers even, depending on how that all plays out. So I think that's where you could see some value gain in those picks, like you're saying, right? Like it would be one of only 2 running backs, and then who knows when the next one would go. When we've talked about Jadarian Price, he hasn't been somebody that I've been overly in love with his profile. You just really don't know how much can he do. And then, what's going to happen with Charbonnet. So he's definitely a worse player than Kenneth Walker. So in terms of like when Charbonnet is fully healthy, how much work does Jadarian Price get? It's a little hard to know, but it does seem like everybody thinks this is happening, which probably means it's just not going to happen. I feel like in the NFL draft, a lot of times, unless it's, those top picks, like these later rounds, everybody thinks for sure this is happening, and then Seattle will just drive another cornerback slash safety demon for their defense and keep it moving and find a Coleman or somebody else later in the draft.
Yeah, and I think I said that he was the ninth, but I think we had 10. So we had Price, then we get Kevin Concepcion, then we have Denzel Boston. The next one is Omar Cooper Jr., then Kenyon Sadiq, Makai Lemon, and then we have, so that's 6 with Makai Lemon. Then we have Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson,
Jeremiah Love,
and Fernando Mendoza. So 10. So we have 10 first round offensive skill players, or 10 skill players taken in the first round of the draft, which that does a lot for those later round picks. Like, I think a lot of people were kind of writing off the 108 through the 110. And if you have those picks and this draft happens, go ahead, Jose.
No, I was saying I was one of those guys, and I
Yeah.
still am. But yeah,
I think this does wonders for you. If anything, right? If people still don't want those picks, Jadarian Price getting vaulted up into like the 106 or something, then pushes down like probably, I think if we look at this draft, Kevin is the last player that is going to get drafted like on average out of all these players. Like I think Denzel Boston can kind of get now steamed up probably to like the 109 above Kevin, who has more recently been getting in the talks of like the 106 107 range. And then I think I don't know, maybe not, maybe Omar Cooper Jr. is battling him for that spot at the 110 there. But I mean, I would be stoked to get Omar Cooper Jr. or Kevin at the 110, even if they landed badly like they do here. I mean, someone had to be offered as tribute.
Yeah, I mean, this is a J-Mac, first round wet dream, I think. So, but for everybody, I think, it's great to see. You don't want it to be all defensive and offensive tackles and only a handful of first round picks. I mean, just in terms of knowing the information, right? Like you want to see them in the first round, because then in day 2, between second round, third round, like the valuation and just the hit rate on these players drastically changes. So I think it's great news, and obviously for those first like 5 picks, I think it solidifies that that's kind of where the tier break is, the 105/106, depending on what tight end or what secondary wide receiver you want to put in there. But I think it would strongly solidify as having a very good core of 5 players to choose from at the top there.
Do you think Jordan Tyson goes wide receiver 1 if he lands to the Chiefs in rookie drafts?
I think because all 3 guys are going to get, if we're just going off this mock, get decent capital, I think it remains like a pick your flavor, like which wide receiver did you like better? I think like you're pretty high on Carnell Tate. I've been rising on Tyson. I think we would probably have flipped opinions there. And Makai Lemon, although he was like wide receiver I liked the most at the beginning of this, I think his spot would just put him like more team build dependent. Like if I'm a year out or maybe 2 years out, like I could see him being, more interesting. But it's also one of those things where like you start doing the work, try to find out who your, league mates like as you get closer to draft season. Because maybe, if we're in a league together and I have a pick ahead of you or vice versa or whatever, like it makes sense if I can trade back to the guy that wants Tate, and then I can, still take my guy and Tyson a pick later or 2 picks later, and then, accrue value. Like those are always, nifty and handy things to do if you can get a good read on your league mates.
Yeah, very, very savvy move. I like to do that. I like to spy on their portfolio. Go over to Dynasty Daddy and just who have they been drafting rookie wise?
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the outro here. Thanks for kicking it with us over here on the Future First side of things, Rookie HQ. We appreciate you guys. Hopefully this mock draft was fun for you as it was fun for me. If your pants are off like mine are, let's just get ready. I mean, and let's just live here and just like offer up Kevin to the Browns, and we can just have a good time. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Rookie HQ Player Profiler is endorsing these messages here, but either way, we're Future First Podcast. We enjoy being here with you guys. Thank you for taking the time to watch or listen. Please hit like, subscribe, comment. We do roster reviews. We have a full length episode that you can catch on Future First Pod. So we really appreciate you guys. Rookie HQ We're out.